Robert Rudd watched as the van sped off. His brain was void of any thought. The screams of Ray and Raya echoed through the parking lot, bringing him back to life. He ran to his car with his children hot on his heels. His girl was taken away, shoving his children into the backseat. He tried to chase the van, but it was a waste of time. The van had vanished. This is the part 2 of the CEO and the nanny that was kidnapped. Mr. Robert, we will do our best to find Miss Diane. Our detectives are on it, checking the civilian cameras at the mall. We will find Miss Diane no sooner than tomorrow. We give you our word. And we will make sure to find the people behind all this, the captain of the precinct assured Robert. Robert knew Diane was an orphan and had no relative. She had nothing anyone would want, so who would benefit from Diane's disappearance? Robert thought long and hard. No one came to mind except Olivia. She was the perfect perpetrator. Robert had avoided Olivia completely after the hot water incident in his home. He couldn't think about anyone spiteful enough to kidnap Diane than Olivia. The detectives were doing their work as expected. Robert's world had come to a halt. He had come to love Olivia so much. He had lost his wife due to illness. He couldn't lose the only woman he had come to love. Sitting in his car, he drove off into the apartment complex of Olivia with so much hatred, anger, and rage combined in his heart. Olivia was sitting in her apartment when she heard a knock at her door. Her brows furrowed. She wasn't expecting anyone at this time of the day, she thought. As she opened the door, she was met with a furious Robert. He grabbed her by her neck and strangled her till she couldn't breathe no more. He asked his question. "Where is Diane?" Robert's eyes was bloodshot. It was obvious today wasn't the day to play jokes on him. Olivia, confused evident on her face while she coughed, said, "Why would I know where Diane is? Isn't she your nanny or maid or whatever?" Olivia slapped Robert hard across the face. "Don't you ever in your life come into my home and question me about someone who is supposed to be in your home," Olivia shouted at Robert, pushing him out of her apartment. That wasn't the reaction he expected from Olivia. That wasn't the reaction of a culprit or someone who was guilty of a crime. He was truly confused. He saw confusion in her eyes as he questioned her. She knew nothing about Diane's abduction. Weeks and months passed with a snap of a finger. 5 months since Diane's abduction. Robert and his children didn't go a day without going to the precinct to question the police on their day-to-day update. Robert's best friend, Neon, said to him one afternoon, after a meeting, he realized how lost his friend was. "Here is a contact of a private detective. I heard he's very good at locating people with little or no information needed. Call him and give it a try. Maybe he might know what to do," Neon said, handing Robert the card of the detective. "Hello, I'm Robert. I want to employ your service." Robert didn't want to waste a second on an opportunity on rescuing Diane from whoever abducted her. Robert met with Donald, the private detective, and narrated exactly how everything went down. Donald said, "In the span of 2 weeks, I would find her and bring her home. But this is going to cost you a fortune though." "It's no worry. I am willing to pay," Robert said. "See you in a week," Ronald said after he took a picture of Diane and walked out of Robert's mansion. Donald prides himself with his efficiency in finding anyone and everyone. The software he used to scan faces was a powerful tool the government didn't know anything about. No matter where you've been or are at the moment, once the software scans you, your entire existence will be known to him. Donald telling Robert 2 weeks was just a formality. He could find her in just a day. That is, if she's alive. Donald scanned Diane's photo. Everywhere that she was captured, every CCTV came on his machine. The last known place to any CCTV camera footage about Diane's whereabouts was the mall. But his bingo card changed from the mall to the van and then to the location of the van. Donald began to trace the van's whereabouts. It took hours, but he got the location regardless. At the outskirts of the town, location hidden in the woods, where the city cameras are hidden from, was a shed with camera around it. Donald used just a day to locate the woman the law enforcement hadn't had luck locating in months. He smiled to himself. Donald got on his motorbicycle and hurried to the location. This is how he did his investigations. After he had made his positive location and targets, he would survey the location or place to find extra information. It was a 4-hour drive from the city. In the silence of the wood, Donald hid in this hideout hours on end, monitoring the shed that was likely the place Diane was kept. After a long wait of 3 hours, a car drove into the compound. From the car, 2 women alighted. First one was unknown to Ronald. Then a second woman who looked exactly like Diane alighted from the car. She was the exact photocopy of Diane. Donald knew it wasn't Diane because this one had brown eyes. Donald took pictures and videos and returned to his apartment. He used the day to develop the pictures and paid his friend Robert a visit. "It's been 3 days. I wasn't expecting you," Robert was excited like a child within. If Donald was here within the span of 3 days, then he had made a discovery. Robert's heart pounded faster as Donald smiled with a form of satisfaction. "Well, Mr. Robert, there has been a small development in my investigation. Can you please identify these individuals?" Donald said, placing a set of pictures on the table. Donald saw the horror on Robert's face as he picked up the pictures on the table. He was supposed to be his dead wife and his secretary. "This must be an old picture, right? That's my dead wife and secretary," Robert emphasizing the dead wife. "Well, I tracked Diane's location to a last known place, that was the mall. Tracked the van that kidnapped her to an unknown location, then went there to investigate. There, I took these lovely photos. So no, they aren't old pictures." Robert's abrupt gesture scared Donald. "This is my dead wife. And how is my dead wife alive? I rushed her to the hospital by myself. I saw her in the coffin, and I was there when she was lowered into her grave. How can this be?" Robert was out of his mind, now pacing his living room. There are drugs to keep someone dead for some time. I think that was how she was able to manipulate you. Well, I am not done with my investigation. We'll contact you soon. But please be sure not to alert your secretary or sack her or do anything for her to notice that you have or you've noticed something about her. Donald said to Robert and left. Robert stayed in his disoriented state for days. How could Layla do this to him? She was the woman he loved, and she had never, not once in her lifetime, treated him badly or given him the wrong ideas about her. To him, she was the perfect woman. In the duration of a week, everything was set. Indeed, Diane was kept in the shed that Donald had found. And also, to his surprise, Diane was pregnant with Robert's child. After a week's investigation, Donald reported his findings to Robert. Robert couldn't hold back his tears as the knowledge of Diane's possibly pregnant affected him. They had engaged in sexual activities a day before she was kidnapped. He was going to be a father again. Donald was paid a hefty sum of money, and he gave all his findings and information to Robert. The police was to take over the rest. The police hid in the bushes with their weapons and waited for Layla and Benedict, who was Robert's secretary, to arrive. They raided the place and arrested everyone upon the arrival of Layla and Benedict. The security, masked men, Layla and Benedict all were arrested. Upon entering the shed, Diane was caged like a dog with her heavy belly. She looked dirty and malnourished. Robert's heart broke as his beloved was carried out in blankets. He couldn't look at his wife behind in the police car. How could someone be this wicked to a pregnant woman? Days and nights, Robert stayed with his unconscious Diane at the hospital. Upon investigation, the police found out Layla faked her death with her doctor to be able to go live with her lover in Venice. The lover cleared her account of all her money, stocks, and investments after a couple of years. She wanted to return back to her husband, therefore recruiting his secretary. She later found out about her replacement, who was Diane, her biological sister. Layla was adopted immediately after birth because Diane's mom was poor, so they never knew each other. Ronald's brain couldn't comprehend the way the story took a turn. "Can I see Layla?" he asked. He was directed to her holding cell. She looked the same. He almost pitied her. Layla, on seeing Robert, stood up immediately and said to her husband, "Robert, please forgive me. It was the devil that made me do this." Robert smiled and said, "Well, it looks like the devil and you are the same. How can you be so wicked to me and our children, and even to a pregnant woman? Indeed, I really never knew you. You've been dead to me and the children, so please stay dead and enjoy your little life in prison," Robert said, walking away without looking back. He really had a lot to tell Diane when she woke up. He had a new life with his two beautiful daughters and the girl of his dreams and the little baby boy who will be born in some few months. What else did he need? And that is the end of the story of the CEO and the nanny.